Bum 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 bum. Brum bum 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 bum. Ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Ba-da-dum bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 bum. Ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-da-da-da-dum. Hello, my friends. It's Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And we do one thing and one thing only every single Monday at this time, and that is I'm here to teach you homeopathy and for you to share with each other as well. It's one of my favorite things to do all week long. And so my name is Joette Calabrese, and that's what I do. I teach homeopathy. I've been in practice for 36 years full time. I've been studying and teaching homeopathy for 40 years. I've been on this path a long, long time, my friends, and so I want to share what I know with you tonight and other modalities as well, other forums. And so I hope that you'll follow me in those as well. And for those who already know you, hello, my friends. Welcome. It's great to see you all. Lots of folks from all over East Texas, and we've got people on, we've got Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, and of course, my mighties. Good evening, my mighty friends. Joette's Mighty members. It's a good thing to join should you be interested. And anything that you're interested in following me on, just go to my website, joettecalabrese.com, and you can go to Joette's Learning Center, Joettes, no apostrophe, Joette's Learning Center, and join me. Join me in study groups, Gateway to Homeopathy, excuse me, take my courses. You don't have to do any of it, though, to be honest. You don't have to spend a nickel. This is free. My podcasts are free. My what else? Our blog every Sunday night is free. We've been doing that for 14 years. And so, my friends, I have lots and lots of free information for you. And then when you decide you want to go further, then by all means, go for it. I love to see people commit to it. Because, my friends, the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It's conformity. That's a quote from Rollo May, Man's Search for Meaning. Good book, good information. Yes, conformity is our concern. In case we haven't noticed that over the last 4 years, that is the biggest concern. So we need to not just be strong in our convictions, but we have to move against the fray, against the stream many times, because what the masses do in general, what we're told, that when they're told to do something, usually we want to rethink that. We want to go in likely a different direction. On just about everything, education, nutrition, the food pyramid, right? Government, medicine, I could keep going, finances, you keep going, my friends. It's on everything. Where you should birth your baby, should they be in a big institutional hospital or it should be at home with your husband by your side? How should we do this? Hello, my friend Sue from North Carolina, and nice to see you, Tara, from chilly Western Australia. Hi, happy Canada Day. That's right, to fellow Canadians. Yes, and that's where I am right now. I'm in Canada, and the fireworks started last night. We'll be hearing them again today. Excuse me, probably for a few more days. It's a good time. Life is good, my friends. And it's, excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of my water. And as much as we must be mighty, we must move forward. I believe the best is yet to come. I think things are going to change. I see them changing. I see the numbers of people who are following me and other homeopaths. I see how people are thinking differently about food. I see a lot more homeschoolers. I see a big shift in society. And I don't mean just the U.S. and Canada, North America. I also see it I hear from all of you. I see the number of applicants joining our academy. Yes, my friends, people who are interested in making a full year commitment of intense study. So, hi from Delavan. Says Pat, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Amy from Utah, and let's see, Ohio, that's Vernice, and Peshtigo, Wisconsin, Cindy S. comes from. Okay, my friends, it's just great. Let's get started. And I think one of the best ways to get started when we're talking about injuries, especially lacerations, is those are accidents. Obviously, we don't plan it. It's not something that's going to happen. May never happen, but it's likely, my friends, that it will occur. So what does that mean? Does that mean we wait until that moment in time before we learn what should be used and to own that medicine? Oh, nay. It means we need to be prepared. We need to prepare in the world in which we live now more than ever. So it's going to happen. Someone you know, someone you love, yourself, your husband, your child, your spouse, your dog, your goat, someone, your neighbor, your church mate, your homeschool group, somebody's going to be injured, and so you need to know this, and of course that's why you're here. Yeah, Timothy 2. I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to read some of these to you. I think they're just so powerful. For the Spirit of God does not give us timidity, but gives us power and love and self-discipline. That's what we're going to talk about. Power. Power of love, self-discipline. And that's what we're going to be, that's what I expect of you, my friends. If you're going to take this on in homeopathy, you can't just say, oh, I don't think I want to take drugs, or I don't think I want to go to the hospital at this point. Well, you may not want to, but you must be prepared, and that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm getting out today's book, which is the book that I use most every time, and that is Robin Murphy's Meta Repertory, 4th edition. You needn't actually own this if you're a beginner, but I hope that you get to the point where you will take this on, where you will learn how to use this. I teach this in my academy. Very thorough teaching in my academy. I mean, we study deeply. It's quite rigorous. And I'm going to go to the section called Clinical or Generals. And I'm going to page 2311 for those of you who happen to have this book, or even if you don't, you want to jot it down so that you can look it up at a later date once you purchase the book. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it directly from Lotus. And don't do without this book if you're serious about this. So then I look under injuries. And there's a whole section on injuries. What kind of injuries? Falls, injuries from falls, injuries, a hematoma that results in a hematoma. How about head injuries? But we're talking today about wounds, lacerations. And so you could just say, yikes, get to the hospital. You have to decide. Is that where you want to go? Would you prefer to be able to do this yourself? And I'm not going to tell you you should never go to the hospital, because emergency care can be quite useful if it's out of your league. But learn enough so that it's not out of your league, my friends. Learn enough so that you have confidence, so that you have self-discipline to learn this and a spirit of power and ability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lacerations, wounds, and we can also look at cuts or stabs. That's where Robin Murphy directs us as a secondary choice. And the first remedy we look at is calendula. Calendula officinalis. By the way, my friends, I used to grow it. I've got to start growing it again in my garden here. Calendula officinalis. Marigold. Not just any marigold. It's got to be the officinalis, because it must be I'm talking about now an herb. Okay, we can use it homeopathically, indeed, which means it's diluted many times. But I also like it in the botanical form, which means that it's in alcohol more often than not. I prefer it in alcohol. And so when I used to grow it, I would wait till it started to bud in the morning, and I would pick the fresh buds first thing in the morning and fill a ball canning jar with the highest concentration of vodka I could find, or grain alcohol. At the time when I was doing this back, I don't know, late 80s, you couldn't, in New York State, you weren't allowed to buy grain alcohol, nor were you able to do so in all of the surrounding states, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, Ontario. Thank God they protect us. It's all I can say. I'm so grateful for a government that protects us from ourselves. So we had to shift a little bit, and so then we started to use vodka, very high, I think 80%. I don't remember, to be honest. And so then you put them in a jar, and you let them steep for a fortnight. In the U.S., fortnight means to interpret it. Fortnight is a British term, but in the U.S. it's 2 weeks, and then we decant it, and then we end up with a product that looks like, we put it in a little tincture bottle like this. We decant it, put it in a bottle, and then if there's a wound, we can get that pipette, squeeze it, draw up a few drops, put that in a warm bucket of a warm basin of clean water, drop it in there, and now you can use that by putting a clean cloth, gauze, sterile gauze, or for example, and put it directly on the wound. If you've got too much alcohol, my friends, it's going to sting because it's alcohol, right? If you've got too much. So it's usually 1 to 20, means it's 1 drop to 19 drops of 1 drop of the tincture to 19 drops of water, or 1 teaspoon to 19 drops, or 19 teaspoons, excuse me. And that ratio is usually pretty good, where you're still getting a good amount of the calendula officinalis in mother tincture, which means it's still an alcohol. And you can use that directly on the wound. But I also want to tell you about another medicine that many of you who already know me or know homeopathy, that is Hypericum. 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 And what's really great about this medicine is because it is one of our best medicines to protect against infection. So it's also incredible for pain. The more severe the injury, the more severe the pain, I should say, we might go a little higher potency. I love a 200. I love Hypericum 200. Could a 30 work? It could work. Now this is homeopathic. Now we're talking about using it in, a bottle like this. So we're administering a few pills, 4 to 5 pills, generally in the mouth, while you're also perhaps applying the sterile gauze that has the calendula tincture on it. And you're applying the Hypericum for pain to protect against infection. Now, if we're talking about a mild abrasion, a laceration that's not too severe, it's not horrible, but it's an injury, we're going to clean the area, the wound, and we can clean it with the Hypericum, with the calendula, or under running water, a little bit of pure soap without fragrances, my friends. Don't use soaps that have fragrances. You don't need those extra chemicals. They're not natural fragrances. Trust me, they're not, unless you know the person who's actually making the soap and they're actually indeed adding true lavender, etc. So what you want to do is clean the wound. You can do it with a little bit of soap if you can. If you can't do that, you're going to use warm water. You're going to add that poultice, or that gauze. I should say it's not a poultice. That gauze with the tincture on it. Hold it there. Squeeze it over it a little bit, and then keep replacing that every hour or so. And meanwhile, you are going to be administering Hypericum 200C. If the pain is absolutely over the top, extraordinary, and I have to tell you, my friends, I hesitate to talk about higher potencies on this forum because people who don't understand that the higher the potency, the more intense the medicine acts in many ways. More intensely, I should say, it acts. And so I prefer to use medium potencies, which is a 200. I know some people consider that high. I consider it medium. And then we would use it every few hours. If it's really horrible in the beginning, maybe every half hour for the first couple of hours. Maybe even every 15 minutes for the first hour. You must be the judge of that, the intensity of the pain. If the pain is, as I said, over the top, then we can go to a higher potency. Although, unless someone really has a good feel for homeopathy, I prefer that they use a 200 instead of the higher potency, which is 1M. All righty, let's see what we've got going on here. We've got some other medicines we can talk about, but lots of people coming in. Hello, hello, hello. What was the book again? Somebody, if Natalie could write down the book for us so that we've got that all ready for everyone. The book is right there. Yep, Robin Murphy Repertory, 4th edition. I made a soap with calendula in it. I soaked dried calendula flowers in my olive oil, strained and made into a soap. It's an excellent idea. Absolutely. Yes, yes. Now, someone asked, why did I skip over carbolic acid? We have a lot of choices of remedies here, and I'm glad you've got the book so that you can question me. I don't mind being questioned. I like when people are thinking. Carbolic acid is a very good medicine, particularly when the laceration is rather extreme. Also, if there happens to be a reaction that is a collapse of sorts. If the person has collapsed as a result of the laceration because it's that severe, I would resort to carbolic acid, no doubt about it. So, and then we have the ubiquitous, most incredible medicine, and you must all own this medicine, my friends. I've talked about it many times before. I've talked about it with sepsis. Septicemia, you must own this medicine. If you don't know it, let me tell you what it is now. Write it down. Pyrogenium. 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 It is a gangbuster. It's one of the medicines that I can't imagine ever doing without. Thank you, Amanda. Pyrogenium 200C is the potency I like. I also like 30. Can be very useful in a 30th potency. And that is, if it looks like an infection is ensuing. Now, at the moment of the injury, you're not going to know that, right? You're not going to know that for some time. But if you also note that this particular injury looks like, this is the kind of injury that could become infected. Then a couple doses of Pyrogenium 200C, maybe that day, maybe 1 or 2 the following day, or the following day after that as well. It's not a bad insurance policy. But if it actually starts to look as though it's becoming infected, you bet I'm going to use Pyrogenium. You bet. Now, I also have to tell you, I'm going to give you another one in a moment, but let's see what everyone's saying here. We've got lots of folks here tonight. It's good. You're replying to each other. It's really great. Hubs just sliced the tip of his thumb skin last night. I put it back on and gave him Nux vomica for nausea. Yeah. Yes, Nux vomica for nausea, but I also like Ipecac for nausea, and then we go to these as well. You don't have to choose one medicine, my friends. That is a misunderstanding of homeopathy, that we choose only one medicine. No, we can use the calendula. Of course, that is a botanical. We can use Hypericum, indeed, for the pain and potential of infection. We could use carbolic acid if the person has collapsed. You can use all of these, all three of them. We could use Pyrogenium if it looks like this could potentially be quite an infection. Well, I'm not talking about a little laceration, a little injury. I'm talking about something that's rather significant. You could do all of these on the way to the hospital. You have to make that decision. And also it depends on where you live. If you live near a hospital or an emergency room, that makes a difference as well. And whether or not you have comfort in treating these kinds of things. If it's a farm animal, it's a goat. Really, do you want to drive the goat to the vet, or does the vet come to you before all of that happens? This is what you can do, my friends. You can take care of much more than you think you can. Okay, we're talking about what edition to purchase. I like the 4th edition. That was his last. Unfortunately, Robin Murphy passed away. So that will be the last one, most likely, unless someone takes up the mantle from him. Let's see. Where do you purchase 1M potencies? Same place you purchase other remedies. You could purchase them from Boron, from Helios in England. You can buy them from Washington in West Virginia. You can buy them from, why don't you help them out a little bit, my friends, instead of my listing all of the homeopathic pharmacies. Okay. So we got someone who's talking about making their plantain, comfrey, and calendula mixture. It's a beautiful, it's more than a hobby, but it's a wonderful way to use your time, my friends, is to learn how to wildcraft or grow your own herbs and learn how to make tinctures and salves and soaps, etc. I spent a lot of time doing that back in the 80s. It was one of my great pleasures when I raised my children. It was something I could teach them. We used to go looking for St. John's wort, which is Hypericum, and I used to make tinctures from that. It's a wonderful way to spend your time. I've used homeopathy on our cows, chickens, cats, and dogs, says Megan. You bet, Megan. Ainsworth, taproots. Yes, thank you very much. Ainsworth is another place you can purchase. I don't know taproots. All righty. Boron, Hahnemann Labs. Yep, you got it. Good. Thank you. OHM Pharma, of course. Now, OHM Pharma is a pharmacy that I work closely with. It is not a retailer. They are not retailers. They are manufacturers, but my students and clients have access to OHM. It's one of the advantages of working in my world. Replying to, okay, I keep this in the home. Taproots is great. Okay, great. Just know that I don't know if Taproots is a manufacturer. I usually prefer to work directly with the manufacturers, such as Helios and Boron and Washington and Hahnemann Pharmacy out in San Francisco area. Could you please tell us about when it would be beneficial to take the homeopathic calendula versus mother tincture? You could use it in a homeopathic formula, meaning that it's been diluted and succussed X number of times. I have, to be honest, I have never used calendula for a laceration. I've used it for other conditions, but I've not used it for that. I usually use it just in mother tincture and then go directly to the other medicines. Now, let me also tell you, even though it's not listed here, I worked for 8 years, not all one year after another, but 8 separate times I went to Calcutta and worked with the doctors, Prasanta and Pradeep Banerjee, and what I believe they would have used for a situation like this, perhaps instead of, or in a decision between Pyrogenium and this other medicine, I think they might have saved Pyrogenium for if the infection actually ensued. I believe they would have used what they call hyper-Rs. A Hypericum mixed with arsenicum. Hypericum 200 mixed with arsenicum 200. They called it hyper-Rs. You're not going to find it in the repertory, and you'll only find it mixed in advance at OHM Pharma. But that doesn't mean you can't get Hypericum 200 and Arsenicum 200 and mix them together and make the medicine. That's a Banerjee protocol. One of our greats, my friends. Hypericum and Arsenicum. Now, the beauty of this is not only does this take care of the pain, the potential of infection, but it often brings down the angst. The person, instead of freaking out, they can calm down and say, okay, maybe you could help me with this. Okay, I'll let you put the calendula gauze on my wound. It calms people down. And that is really important because a lot more, my friends, of the human capability to heal lies between the ears more than we believe. What we think, how we experience life, what we put forth, what we expect will make all the difference in the world in our healing. And so as the practitioner in your home, we need to learn not to freak out and say, I got this. I got it. And the way you can say, I got this, is because you've heard this, you've gone to your materia medica. I assume you've got materia medica, or you've got access to it online, okay? You've gone to your materia, you've read these medicines so you understand them. You own these medicines, and you say, okay, I've got this. You're not going to tell someone I can cure this because you don't know whether or not you're going to completely cure. We don't know these things. Perhaps the person needs to get to the hospital. Let's say it's your child, your husband is driving. You've got the remedy kit. You've got your child in your arms, and you are administering the medicines on the way calmly, with intention, with the ability to be able to withstand. So the child looks to you and doesn't see terror in your eyes. Same thing with your husband. Same thing with your goat, your dog, your neighbor. No terror. Calm it down. And the way that you become calm is to educate yourself. You must read and study unceasingly. Now, I'm not saying that you need to know all homeopathic medicines for all conditions, but choose your lane. If you live on a farm, or if you have children who are of an age where an injury could occur, or your husband works, maybe he's working on the roof, and you think about those kinds of things happening, that's the kind of situation in which you must know what medicines to use. You must know this. You must have your sources available and your medicines. If there's no one in your family who has dementia, don't worry about dementia. Learn that when your parents age or when you age. You don't need to know everything. You only need to know those lanes in which you drive down. If you've got 4 girls getting into menarche, my friends, you've got 4 daughters starting you need to know those medicines. You need to know what to do when they have cramps or anxiety or emotional upheaval, etc. And the way you learn that is you go to Joette's Learning Center and scroll down and either join a study group, which is the best first step ever. It's the way I started. I started in a study group. We met in my house every Thursday night for 4 years. And when it wasn't my house, it was someone else's house. And we stayed as a tight group, and we helped each other learn and study homeopathy. And that's what I want for you. That is the way this gets moved forward in your life. You want to up the ante, my friends. If you come across something that you were not prepared for, you can't be prepared for everything, right? Although eventually you will. If you get bitten by this bug, you will be ready for everything. Pretty much. Because there is a medicine. There is a homeopathic medicine for everything, for all conditions, for all sufferings, human and animal. And by the way, I'm treating my old oak tree here, 150-year-old oak tree. I treat it because we've got the tree surgeon coming. Okay, we got just a minute. What's Hypericum 200, Arsenicum 200 used for? It's used for protecting against infection. It also helps, the Hypericum helps with the pain. Arsenicum helps with the anxiety that's associated with it. Arsenicum is also a great medicine that's specific for potential infection. It's all around. It's what it's used for is exactly what we're talking about. That's lacerations and wounds. That's what it's used for. Now, we can find other ways to use it as well. Is there a course for the elderly? We are in that season for our elderly parents. Let me tell you this. I've been meaning, I started this academy 3.5 years ago, and I've been so immersed. I've been up to my eustachian tubes with the academy, which I have to say I absolutely adore. And I had talked about putting together an elderly course, and I have a good amount of information, and we have not quite put it out yet. It will likely come, but let me tell you, meanwhile, if we're talking about an elderly course, what are the elderly conditions? Dementia, mindful homeopathy. I also talk about it on my blog. Dementia, what else are we talking about? Arthritis, I talk about that on my blog. It's free. Give it to you for free. Joette Calabrese arthritis. And it doesn't matter whether the person's 80 or 18. It's still the same medicine. So what are the other conditions? Maybe bruising, hematomas. I talk about that in my survivalist guide. So it's all covered. It's just not all organized according to an age group. All right. Yeah, I also talk about strokes, cardiac arrests, all in my survivalist guide. I'm looking for it now. I usually keep it right here. It's and that is something that you can go to Joette's Learning Center and pick it up. It is quite heavy. It's heavy duty. It is quite the work. It's what I've called my opus. Spent years putting this together. The Survivalist Guide to Homeopathy. All righty, my friends. There we go. It's 8:32. I have to dash off. I have to meet with a group of new students in our academy. And I say God bless to you, all of you. Mwah! Have a great week. We'll talk next week. Bye now.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa no dairy, it's elementary with arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more firm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, cali carbonicum, let it melt down your gumbo, beast to weed are some great ways to treat ya. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa no dairy, it's elementary with our